Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, I hear you.
Hi
Hello.
everyone.
Does my microphone working?
Your microphone is working. I hear your voice.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Only I can't hear teacher's voice. What about you, Pina? Do you hear teacher's voice?
No, I can't. I
No.
cannot hear him.
Okay.
No, I cannot hear him.
Me too.
John, can you hear us?
He can hear us. I can't hear. I still cannot hear your voice, John. Can you hear me? Maybe you can hear me. I can't hear you.
Oh, it's the same for me, John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you, Bob. Maybe we can hear it with each other, but
Yeah.
only my teacher has a problem with his voice.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, I hear you now.
Okay. I fixed the
That's okay.
problem.
Congratulations.
Yes. All right. Let's see if we can get started. So first of all, let me just, yeah. First of all, let me get the story back on screen. I'm skipping the introduction, obviously, and introduction of the class and just jumping right into it. Okay, so I think the best thing to do, since we've lost a bit of time, see now I have to reopen everything on my computer. It's going to take not that long, but it's going to take a second. I just need to reopen my notes, which I had to close. I switched browsers because the problem is Google had major problems the other day. They're fixed, but when you load the Google app, I don't know, maybe older computers can't handle it or something. I'm not sure what the problem is. So I had to basically restart my computer, but now it's working. Okay, hang on just a second, and we'll get started. Okay, let me just go to my verb folder on my side. Great short stories. And here we go. All right, I'm just opening my notes. This is the longest introduction to a class I've ever had. 10 minutes to get the class started. All right, so for those of you who are not here before, let me see if I can just give you a quick introduction. The story is not very long, so we're about halfway through it, but there's basically 1 or 2 paragraphs per person to do the second half. So it's not actually that much, but just a quick introduction. Let me see if I have the introduction I wanted here. No, that's not the one I wanted. Hold on. Sorry, not the introduction, the summary. That's the one I wanted. Let me see if I have the one I wanted here. Oh, this is going to take forever. Sorry, my notes are taking too long to open. So, wait, maybe I have this one here. Okay, here's a brief summary. We're probably going to have to add a little bit of information to it. Okay, but for those of you who are not here in part 1 and part 2, The Egg tells the story of a childhood memory that has a profound effect on the narrator's outlook in life. The tale centers around a father, a man who was, quote, intended by nature to be cheerful and kindly, but who, through acquiring the American passion for getting up in the world, in other words, what we call the American dream, loses his happiness. The father's lost, how can I say this? The effect of the father's loss in the son, the narrator of the story, is a sense of tragedy and a conviction that the egg, the source and symbol of that loss, completely and utterly triumphs over life itself. That's kind of a heavy introduction. But anyway, that's a bit about the themes. In the previous part of the story, when we were reading, so we saw how a family, well, let me just see if I can summarize this briefly. The story begins by the narrator describing his father's life as a farmhand in the rural Midwest. So the father is content in his position, he enjoys his work, and his easy relationship, let's say, with the other farmhands who gather at the local saloon on Saturdays. And dissatisfaction does not strike him until at age 35 he gets married. His wife, who is described as, quote, a tall, silent woman with a long nose and troubled gray eyes, initiates a change in his life. While wanting nothing for herself, she is incurably ambitious, it says. Wait, hold on one second. Sorry, just had to sneeze. She is incurably ambitious for her husband and her son, in other words, the narrator, to get up in the world. Her prompting forces the husband to leave the farm with his new family, move closer to the town, and take up chicken raising. From the chicken farm, the young narrator gains his initial impressions of life, where he sees at first hand the inescapable tragedy of the chicken. It is born out of an egg, it lives for a few weeks as a tiny fluffy thing, and then it becomes hideously naked. This is all from the story. This is a description. Hideously naked, eats quantity of corn and meal brought by the sweat of your father's brow, gets diseases, stands with stupid eyes looking at the sun, becomes sick and dies. So the story is a lot about cycles. And there was even a moment in the story where, as they're moving to their new location, when the narrator is young, they're bringing a lot of strange objects with them. And one of them was his childhood. It was a crib, wasn't it? I can't remember now if it was a crib or if it was his stroller. But it was broken, and they brought it with them anyway. They brought basically all their possessions. So just a quick introduction about what we've been reading. We're going to pick the story up right now from about the middle point, which you can see if you scroll down. I've marked it here on your text. Mine says part 3. On your text it says today's, I don't have it open in my browser, but it will say today's class. So maybe one of you can take a quick look and tell me which page it's on in your side. Okay, but anyway, on mine it says part 3, on yours it says today's class. So we can probably each do 2 paragraphs to get to the story, and we're going to try to discuss it at the end. So hopefully we can leave a little bit of time there at the end. Okay, so Bob and Jesus, I know that you weren't in the other class, but you can ask any questions you want at any time. We're going to work on pronunciation. I'm going to ask you some comprehension questions along the way, and we're basically going to go through the story and discuss it at the end. Okay, is that clear, everyone?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So, anyway, sorry for the problems getting the class started. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, it looks like things are working here. So, Yuki, can you tell me what page this paragraph is on? Mother decided.
I
On
think
your
it,
side.
it is in the page of 6.
Page 6.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to start there. On my side, I have this printed out as a doc, so it's different from me. Okay, but if you're sharing the screen, if you're going to use the screen instead of the document, I'll make it a little bit bigger. Hold on. So maybe it's a little easier to see. Okay, so Yuki, you're going to start us off. Then we're going to go to Raphael, and then Jesus, and then Bob. Go for it, Yuki.
Mother decided that our restaurant should remain open at night. At 10 in the evening, the passenger train went north past our door followed by local freight. The freight crew had switched to do in Pickville, and when the work was done, they came to our restaurant for hot coffee and food. Sometimes one of them ordered a fried egg. In the morning, at 4, they returned northbound and again visited us. A little trade began to grow up. Mother slept at night and during the day tended to the restaurant. Can
Oops,
you?
we're getting some noise there. Hold on. I'm
Yes,
just
I
going to
hear the
mute you for a
noise.
second, Jesus, okay? Because we're getting
Jesus.
noise on your side. Okay, you can go ahead. You can.
Okay. Mother slept at night and during the day tended to the restaurant and fed our boarders while father slept. He slept in the same bed mother had occupied during the night, and I went off to the town of Bidwell and to school. During that long night, while mother and I slept, father cooked meat that were to go into sandwiches for the lunch basket of our boarders. Then an idea in regard to getting up in the world came into his head. The American spirit took hold of him. He also became ambitious.
Yeah, keep going to the next paragraph. One
In
more.
the long night, when there was little to do, father had time to think. That was his undoing.
Thinking was his undoing. You know, try not to think.
Disaster, yeah?
Try not to think if you can help it. Okay.
Yes. He decided that just thinking with
The bad thing.
his
Very bad.
bad thing. He decided that he had in the past been an unsuccessful man because he had not been cheerful enough and that in the future he would adopt a cheerful outlook on life. In the early morning, he came upstairs and got into bed with mother. He woke and two talked. From my bed in the corner, I listened.
Okay, very good.
It was the father's idea that both
Wait,
he
no, wait, hold on, wait. We're going to go around the room. Just a quick question. A local freight. Is that clear what a freight is?
freight is transport, yeah? Measure.
It's a train. It's a train.
Train, yes.
A train that's carrying, well, Miguel knows all about freight because that's his job. Right, Miguel?
Yes.
So a freight train is carrying, like, you know, commercial shipping. A freight train, not for passengers. Okay, just to be clear. And the freight crew had switching to do in Pickleville. In other words, in the old days, someone had to come out and manually change the track for the train. They had to pull a lever, and the train would go on a different track to a different destination. So this is an old. We can tell that this is happening in the 1930s or 20s or something like that. Okay.
Here, I didn't understand the situation. They came from where they came from. Crew
The crew, they're on the trains,
on the train.
right? And then they become.
Then came from this town. What does
Well, the key word is that they're borders. Here you
Yes.
can see in the middle. So they're borders. In other words, they're gonna probably sleep there, like a little overnight, not a hotel, but something like a motel or a bed and breakfast, like a little place where you kind of can sleep for the night. That's what a border is. I don't know if they're actually staying there. So
First of
remember,
all,
yeah.
restaurant is placed in the Pickville, yeah?
I
Right?
have no idea. I guess. I don't know.
Um,
It's their restaurant. The father became an entrepreneur. That's the key idea, though. The
Yes.
father became an entrepreneur. He started a business.
Crew comes from Bidwell, yeah?
But I don't think it really matters. What's
Well,
important is what matters is that the mother is pushing the father to become kind of businessman. So he opens a restaurant, and again, they've got eggs because the people eating there are ordering fried eggs. Again with the eggs.
I see.
Sorry, John.
Go for it. What's the
Sorry.
question?
Yeah. May you repeat, please, what borders means?
It means that they're basically guests in a hotel are
Okay.
boarders. So people who are probably sleeping there, because that's like when you go to a hotel, you pay for room and board. So that's usually like a meal and a bed. I don't know if they're actually sleeping there or if they're just eating at the restaurant, because the language here is a little bit old, right? So some of the words have a different meaning. This is from the 1930s, I think. So it's a little bit outdated. Okay, but anyway, we'll get to see the moment where the new business takes off. They're not farmhands anymore. They're now restaurateurs. And he's describing what it's like. Do you think they have a comfortable life so far, Yuki? Does it sound like it's all roses?
I think in comparison with the previous life, narrator have feel happier than before, because now there is no there is he don't need to. It doesn't matter about the hens now.
Well, I don't know. That's the only thing is I don't know if they're still raising chickens or not. I didn't quite follow that part of the story. But you're probably right. It's not their main business. Now they've got a restaurant. So yes, you're probably right.
He doesn't need to think about the dreadful life cycle of chickens now. Although sometimes he remember about his childhood, but
is there a cycle? Is there a cycle mentioned in this part of the story? Is there another kind of cycle? Because it seems to me that there is still a cycle, just a different one here. What about their sleep cycle? Does it seem unusual to you?
Sleep cycle is that daytime, father go to sleep.
Right.
Father sleeps. While father sleeps, mother works in restaurant, prepare the lunch for boarders.
Absolutely.
At night, opposite. Mother and I, narrator, go to sleep, and father run the restaurant.
Right. So there still is this idea of a cycle in a way, in a strange way. Just a different kind of cycle. And it sounds a little uncomfortable. I remember when I was a kid, my father was awake all night, and me and my mother and my brother were obviously asleep at night because he had a night job. And it was strange, especially when you're 5 years old, to basically only see your father when he's waking or going to sleep, and that's it. So it's already something off balance. So they've got this new opportunity, but somehow the cycle is somehow uncomfortable, I think. Well,
but mother think that restaurant have to be run 24 hours. So
that
so
could
be it,
but
workers only.
I think it's just that they don't have enough staff. I think they're trying to save money by not hiring anyone else. I think it's why he's up at night preparing everything. Well, let's find out. Let's find out. Raphael, why don't you take the next one? It's just because I don't want to run out of time here. I want everyone to get a chance to read, and I want to see if we can get to a discussion at the end. So Raphael, we're going to take It Was Father's Idea. You see where we are?
Yeah. It was father's idea that both he and mother should try to entertain the people who came to eat at our restaurant. I cannot now remember his words, but we gave the impression of one about to become, in some obscure way, a kind of public entertainer. When people, particularly young people from the town of Bidwell, came into our place, as on very rare occasion they did. Bright entertaining conversation was to be made. From father's words I gathered that something of the jolly innkeeper, a fact, was to be sought.
This
Mother.
one is, by the way, salt is a word we don't use that much anymore. It's the same as seek. Seek, sought, sought. In other words, to look for. I don't know what the jolly innkeeper effect means. I have no idea what that means, but we can kind of imagine that you're supposed to be really happy. The customer's always right. So they're trying to seek this ideal picture of what it should be like to run the restaurant or inn. So the jolly innkeeper effect was to be sought by everyone working there, including the narrator. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, perfect. Mother must have been doubtful from the first, but she said nothing discouraging.
Discouraging. Second syllable. Discouraging.
Discouraging. Discouraging. It was father's notion that a passion for the company of himself and mother would spring up in the breasts of the younger people of the town of Bigwell. In the evening, bright, happy groups would come singing down Turner's Pike. They would troop shouting with joy and laughter.
Shouting with joy.
Oh, sorry. They would troop shouting with joy and laughter into our place. There would be song and festivity. I don't mean to give the impression that father spoke so elaborately of the matter. He was, as I have said, an uncommunicative man. They want some place to go. I tell you, they want some place to go, he said over and over. That was as far as he got. My own imagination has filled in the blanks.
So I wonder, Raphael, I wonder if this is what was meant in the last paragraph where it said, what was the American spirit took over him and he also became ambitious. I wonder if that's what that means. How did he become ambitious? What was the one way we learn about in this paragraph? How did he become ambitious, Raphael?
Well, I don't know exactly, but they are buying more and more food, more lunch, and they become to be very try to be entertainment with the
Yeah.
people.
He's ambitious. He decides to branch out and he becomes an entertainer, not just a chicken farmer, not just a restaurateur, but now he's an entertainer because they need some place to go. He's trying to, the town doesn't really have anything, right? So, how do you think that's going to turn out? Does he seem like, we don't really know, but does he seem like, from what we've heard so far, does he seem like he's going to be a good entertainer? Just out of curiosity. What do you think?
I think this family is an unhappy family, and the fathers, as the last paragraph said, is uncommunicative guy, and for this
Trying
reason,
to be an entertainer, yeah.
Yeah, try to be an entertainment could be very difficult for them. I think
Could be a disaster.
A disaster. Yeah.
Could be. All right. Let's find out. We're going to go on to. I'm going to go in the first order. So Jesus, you're going to be next, Bob, and then Miguel. So Jesus, can you take the next paragraph where it says, we're probably going to split this in two parts, but where it says, for 2 or 3 weeks from that part. Do you see it?
Okay. For 2 or 3 weeks, this notion of fathers invaded our house. We did not talk much, but in our daily life tried earnestly to make smiles take the place of glum look.
Glum looks.
The place of glum look. Mother smiled at the boarders, and I, catching the infection, smiled at our cat. Father became a little feverish in his activity.
Feverish. little feverish.
Feverish in his anxiety to please. There was no doubt lurking somewhere in him a touch of the spirit of the summer. He did not waste much of his ammunition on the railroad men he served at night, but seemed to be waiting for a young man or woman from Bidwell to come in to show what he could do. On the corner in the restaurant there was a wire basket kept always filled with eggs, and it must have been before his eyes when the idea of being entertaining was born in his brain. There was some there was something prenatal about the way eggs kept themselves connected with the development of his idea. At any rate, an egg ruined his new impulse in life. Late one night I was awakened by a roar
I,
of sorry?
this is awakened.
Okay.
Awakened.
Awakened by a roar of anger coming from father's throat. Both mother and I sat upright in our beds. With trembling hands she lighted a lamp that stood on a table by her head. Downstairs the front door of our restaurant went shut with a bang and in a few minutes father tramped up the stairs. He held an egg in his hand and his hand trembled as though he were having a chill. There was a half insane light in his eyes. As he stood glaring at us, I was sure he intended throwing the egg at either mother or me. Then he laid it gently on the table beside the lamp and dropped on his knees beside mother's bed. He began to cry like a boy, and I, carried away by his grief, cried with him. The two of us filled the little upstairs room with our wailing voices. It is ridiculous, but of the picture we made, I can remember only the fact that mother's hand continually stroked the bald puff that ran across the top of his head. I have forgotten what mother said to him, and how she induced him to tell her of what had happened downstairs. His explanation also has gone out of my mind. I remember only my own grief and pride and the shiny path over father's head glowing in the lamplight as he knelt by the bed.
Wow. What do you think happened, Jesus? What would you imagine happened? It's not really said explicitly here, but what do you think happened?
You know what, teacher? When I'm concentrating in the pronunciation, I
Right.
can know, o sea, I can uh, know what is the story about. So sorry.
Right. Okay, but we don't know either because it's not explained. So what happened in this paragraph? What was the main action? What happened, Jesus? The main thing that happened, what was it?
I don't know. Sorry.
You don't know? Nothing? Nothing? Zero?
Uh, yeah.
Well, what did his father do that he maybe wasn't expecting?
I don't know.
Okay. Really? Zero?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. When I'm concentrating in pronunciation, I can't know what it's about.
All right. Okay. Let's open it up to the class then. So what did his father do that the narrator was probably not... By the way, Jesus, I think you do know. You know it's there, but you might not have gotten all the details. But I think you do know because it's at the very end of the paragraph. But we'll open it up to the class, okay? So what happened? What was the unexpected thing?
Something happened, but there is no description about it. But
That's right.
father
We have no idea what happened
we
downstairs.
have no idea what happened. But father feels shocked, and he came upstairs to us, to narrator and mother, and father have egg on his hand. He was very upset, and narrator thought that he intended throwing egg to us to mother narrator, but he just placed the egg on the table, and
And
he
began to do what?
began to cry.
And began to cry.
Yes.
So imagine that you're a young boy, and this is probably the first time he's ever seen anything like this. It's probably pretty traumatic. Does this, Jesus, does this sound familiar now as Yuki explains what happens? Did you follow that more or less?
Yeah, a little
Fair?
bit more.
Right? How do you think he feels seeing his father cry at this point, Jesus? How would you imagine he feels?
Well, he feels bad. He feels that his father should not be crying. You know?
And not only that, earlier in the story, he described his father like a Roman Empire, leading the legions out of Rome to conquer the world. So it's not only that he feels bad, it's true, but we know from an earlier part of the story that he probably looked up to his father, or at least held him in this very lofty regard, kind of solemn.
Yeah.
So this is probably the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to him, I would imagine. He's remembering all of this, so we're getting his point of view now. But at the moment, it was probably the most traumatic thing, and we still have no idea what actually happened. But Bob, we're going to find out with you, because we're going to go on to the next paragraph as to what happened.
As to what happened downstairs, for some unexplainable reason, I know the story as well as thought I had been a witness to my father's discomfiture.
Wait a second. As well as though.
As well as though I had been a witness to my father's discomfiture.
Yeah, this is an old word. It just discomfort, but a lot of the vocabulary is out of date. We don't say discomfiture anymore. So discomfort. Anyway, but the pronunciation is discomfiture.
Discomfiture. Okay.
Keep going.
One in time gets to know many unexplainable things. On that evening, young Joe Keane, son of a merchant of Bidwell, came to Pickleville to meet his father, who was unexpected on the 10 o'clock evening train from the south. The train was 3 hours late, and Joe came into our place to loaf about and to wait for its arrival. The local freight train came in, and the freight crew were fed. Joe was left alone in the restaurant with father.
By the way, arrival. Repeat, arrival.
Arrival.
Okay. And do you know what it means to loaf about? Do you know what that means? To loaf about. Do you think that he was
to lose time, maybe?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like a loaf of bread that just sits there and doesn't do anything. To loaf about. So just kind of sitting around, wasting time. Okay. Keep going. Next paragraph. Keep going.
Okay. From the moment he came into our place, the Bidwell young man must have been puzzled by my father's actions. It was his notion that father was angry at him for hanging around. He noticed that the restaurant keeper was apparently disturbed by his presence, and he thought of going out. However, it began to rain, and he did not fancy the long walk to town and back. He bought a 5-cent cigar and ordered a cup of coffee. He had a newspaper in his pocket and took it out and began to read. And waiting for the evening train.
Began to read.
Began to read. Began to read. I'm waiting for the evening train. It's late, he said apologetically.
Right. One more paragraph. Keep going.
Okay.
These are short, so keep going.
Okay. For a long time, father, whom Joe Kane had never seen before, remained silently gazing at his visitor. He was no doubt suffering from an attack of stage fright. As so often happens in life, he had thought so much and so often of the situation that now confronted him that he was somewhat nervous in its presence.
What is stage fright, Bob? What is stage fright? Do you know?
Is when you are scared by being in front of a lot of people.
Exactly. So his father, who had this notion of entertaining people, is suddenly stage fright. By the way, a lot of famous actors have stage fright. The most famous was Laurence Olivier. Laurence Olivier, who was like, one of the most famous actors of the 20th century on stage and in lots and lots and lots of movies, he famously got stage fright at a London theater, and he started making movies because he didn't have a live audience in front of him, and he felt more comfortable. That's what the story goes. So let's find out what happens. Miguel, you're going to pick it up for 1 thing, that part.
Sorry, teacher, I describe this. I am lost.
Okay, so you see,
tell me, what is the question?
not the question. You're going to pick up reading this
Well,
paragraph here in blue. See it?
okay. For one, okay,
That's it.
okay. For one thing, he didn't know what to do with his hand. He thrust one of them nervously.
He thrust one of them nervously. He thrust.
He thrust one of them.
I gotta hear that st, that T sound. He thrust.
He thrust.
Thrust.
He thrust. He thrust.
Wait. One more time. Listen. Not all thrust, but like sun. Thrust.
He thrust.
Okay, it's better. Keep going.
He thrust one of them nervously over the counter and shook hands with Joe-Kane. "How do you do?" he said. Joe-Kane put his newspaper down and shouted at him. Father was light
Wait. Father's eye lighted on the basket.
Father's eyes lighted on the basket of heads that sat on the counter on the counter, and he began to tell. Well, he began
Hesitate.
sorry?
I'm helping you. Hesitatingly.
Good. Well, you have heard of Christopher Columbus, eh? He seemed to be angry that Christopher Columbus was cheat. He declared why? Can you
Slow down. Emphatically. Good.
He talked of making a next stand on his hand. He thought he did. He went and broke the end of the egg.
By the way, what's he talking about with Christopher Columbus? What did Columbus do for the human race? Because if we don't clarify that, then the joke won't make any sense. What did Christopher Columbus do? Remember, in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Columbus, in Spanish it's Colombo, in English it's Columbus. That guy. Remember Queen Isabel? No one knows who Columbus is?
I know, of course. He found America.
The guy who sailed to America. He was
Yeah.
given a lot of money by the Queen of Spain,
Hmm.
right?
Because
And he
Portuguese Queen
So
didn't give support to them.
yeah,
Portuguese.
there was some big controversy about whether he was Italian or Portuguese, and he was trying to get money from the Portuguese explorers who went to India, and some big thing like that. But in American mythology, right, he's the guy that found America, the great country America, right? So we have Columbus Day as a holiday in America. And what did he do? I mean, what was the significant thing? Everyone thought that he was going to sail off the edge of the world and fall into the abyss, right?
yes.
But he didn't. So my question is, and Miguel, you can answer this if you like. It doesn't matter, or the class. This joke says, well, you heard of Christopher Columbus, eh? That Christopher Columbus was a cheat. And he talked of making the egg stand on its head. Why was he a cheat? Is that clear? What's the joke here? Why was he a cheat?
I think father think that Columbus cheated because Columbus is famous of the legend that he could stand eggs on the desk, but
Yeah.
he cracked the end of the egg, and he could stand the egg. So I think father think that he is cheating. It is cheating, and he intend to show.
But why is it cheating, though? What's the joke here? Is it clear? Well, isn't the idea that if the world were flat, Columbus would have sailed off the edge, right? But by by finding a new continent, he proved that the world was not flat, in a way. That it doesn't just keep going and going. If you keep going, you end up back where you started. So it's round. So I think part of the joke is that he takes a round egg and he flattens it and he stands it on the desk. So it's kind of a joke that Christopher Columbus was a cheat because the world wasn't as round as we thought. What do you think? That's my theory. What do you think about that, Yuki?
I have same idea. I agree with you.
I could be totally wrong, but that's my theory. I don't know. It's not the funniest joke in the world. It's not the funniest joke.
Most important thing is that different from Columbus, father want to show the real performance of standing eggs.
That's true. Yes. He wants to do this little trick. Okay. In the interest
of show that he differ from Columbus.
Sorry, we cut someone off. I couldn't hear what you were saying. I heard someone speaking, but I lost you. Okay, look, in the interest of time, I'm going to do the next paragraph just to move us forward quickly, because I think we have 1, 2, 3. We should be able to I don't think we're going to be able to finish this. But anyway, let's see. I'm going to try to do the next one, just to move us forward a little bit quickly. Follow along, and then we'll try to go around one more time if we can do it. But I don't think we're going to have
hear some noise. Maybe Jesus da. Could you mute your microphone?
I got it. There we go. Jesus, we're going to cut your microphone for a minute. No, I still hear it. Maybe it's Miguel. Hold on a second.
Sorry, Jesus. Maybe Michael.
I think, I don't know.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I think it was you,
yes,
Miguel.
Yes, now I can't hear noise. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So when you're ready to talk, turn your microphone back on, okay? But for now, we'll keep it off. Okay. Father seemed to his visitor to be beside himself at the duplicity of Christopher Columbus. In other words, that the guy had a double life, duplicity. He was dubious. He muttered and swore. He declared it was wrong to teach children that Christopher Columbus was a great man when, after all, he cheated at the critical moment. He had declared that he would make an egg stand on end, and then when his bluff had been called, he had done the trick. Still, grumbling at Columbus, Father took an egg from the basket on the counter and began to walk up and down. He rolled the egg between the palms of his hand, smiled genially. He began to mumble words regarding the effect to be produced on an egg by the electricity that comes out of the human body. He declared that without breaking its shell, and by virtue of rolling it back and forth in his hand, he could stand the egg on its end. He explained that the warmth of his hands and the gentle rolling movement gave the egg let me start over. The gentle rolling movement he gave the egg created a new center of gravity, and Joe Kane was mildly interested. "I've handled thousands of eggs," Father said. "No one knows more about eggs than I do." He stood the egg on the counter, and it fell on its side. He tried the trick again and again, each time rolling the egg between the palms of his hands and saying the words regarding the wonders of electricity and the laws of gravity. When, after half an hour's effort, he did succeed in making the egg stand for a moment, he looked up to find that the visitor was no longer watching. By the time he had succeeded in calling Joe Kane's attention to the success of his effort, the egg had rolled over again and laid on its side. So we have a tragic moment in Picklesville. We have a very tragic moment when his master thespian attempt seems to have failed. Well, listen, sorry, we're not going to be able to finish the end of the story today. We will finish in the next class, which will be on Tuesday, and we will have a long discussion about the symbolism in the story, what it means to you. There's some actually very good vocabulary as well. We'll talk about all of that in the next time. But we got a bit of a late start because of the Hangout, and I apologize for that. So follow me on Verbling so you can see when my new classes are. Next Tuesday at the same hour, we're going to finish the story and discuss it. But right now, I'm going to start the business class in just a minute. So come back for that. It's our last class in how to motivate. Sorry to cut the class a little short, but we'll finish there in the next time. Bye for now, everyone. See you in the next class in 1 minute and a half.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.